Hey guys, it's Austin Doctor, and welcome back to The Island. This is the second episode review, and I have to say this anime is just visually beautiful. I can't get enough of it, but going to the review, we see that, well, we're coming back to Rene talking about her not being able to go into the light because she has this disease called soup blight syndrome, and that's actually a very interesting thing to put this in the anime. But anyways, Rene calls herself the Princess of the Night because of her syndrome, and she indirectly asked, Setsuna to become her Prince of the Night, kind of thing. And we cut to the opening. Let me tell you, the opening is finally actually fully seeing it. It is well done, and the song is pretty good. But going back to the actual core story, we see that Karen is looking at an application to apply to be a maid, and I'm like, oh, so for Rene? And then we see that Setsuna gets his pay finally, and it's half a month of its pay, because I know people in the US don't really know about this, but in any outside, I think this is actually most in Europe too, because my family is from Europe and they usually tell me about this, but in Japan you don't get week by week or 2 week kind of pay. You have to wait a month. At the end of the month you get your pay. But yeah, that's how that works. But apparently we cut to Setsuna looking for Sarah, and she went up to the temple, and the library is closed because of it, and we see Setsuna kind of look for her, and then the mayor shows up, and Sarah quickly runs to the back of the shrine and kind of tells Setsuna to follow. Then after, we have the reason why she hid, because the mayor wants Sarah to come back, because a while ago, about 5 years ago, Karen's family actually took Sarah in, and we learn about Sarah's past, about how she lost her mom and dad because of a fire that was set on her shrine where she used to live. And we kind of see that Karen and Rene's family kind of doesn't think highly of Sarah's family, because there's kind of a class system, it seems, on this island, and these families have this legend that they all follow. And the legend, as Sarah told it, is there was 3 daughters on the island. They kind of all had their own place, and Rene had Setsuna, which was her brother, and she fell in love with her brother. And Karen loved Setsuna too, so basically Setsuna was caught in this weird love triangle, and Karen actually went to go see, basically Sarah, in a sense, one of her people that she knows, to basically curse Setsuna and Rene's relationship. And basically, sadly, Karen made Rene become a actual monster, and it was quite sad, because after we hear Rene took her own life because of being a monster, and Setsuna made a deal later on with the same Shrine Maiden to revive Rene at some point, and he froze himself in ice, so to kind of preserve himself until his sister wakes up, so they can continue their thing, because at the end of the time when he wakes up, the curse is supposed to be lifted when they both reunite. Basically. And it seems, after the story, kind of funny enough, that we hear Setsuna's true name, which I'm not going to try to pronounce that in Japanese, but it's basically translated to the protector of the cosmos. And right after that, we see Sarah kind of try to, well, Setsuna thinks she's honey trapping him again, but funny enough, she actually isn't, and I've kind of found it adorable. But he basically leaves Sarah for Rene to kind of, I think he's more interested in figuring out what's going on, trying to get his memories back. It's kind of interesting, but when he gets home, Setsuna, oh god, it was funny, because he saw Karen looking for that maid job previously that we saw before, and kind of having a little argument. Then Rene smells the insects that Sarah put on Setsuna, and basically gets mad because Setsuna wasn't thinking, and kind of told what was going on, and she got very jealous. And Karen declines the job because her father would just drag her back home, basically, and Setsuna basically gets all defensive and says, do not let your parents dictate your life, because you're going to regret it later. Then it starts to seem the story of the 3 daughters could be the fate of all the girls in Setsuna. And Setsuna at one point calls Karen cute, and she kind of freaks out, and Karen wants to drop out of high school, but her father won't because he basically really dictates her life. And we hear about, Karen's mother leaving off the island 5 years ago, and basically Karen's whole purpose of getting a job is to save money up to go to the mainland and find her mother. And I love her for that. But we see the old lady at the shop they were both at kind of fell over and has Sloot Blight syndrome. I'm not pronouncing it right because I know people are going to correct me either way, but anyways, Sensei thinks the syndrome actually has to do something with the legend, and Sarah basically says yes and no, because the island actually was cut off from the mainland just to take these people that had this syndrome. And this is actually a common thing they used to do back in the days. If some kind of big disease happened, they would just throw them on an island so it doesn't spread to everyone, and everyone dies, basically. And we find out after that Reina's mom tells Setsuna that Reina does not have that syndrome. She just is thinking that she is the Reina from the legend. And we start to see that Reina isn't very mentally correct. And I'm starting to think the girl in that room, as actually James said, is the real Reina, because we saw a little glimpse and it kind of looks like Reina, like a future one or a older one, but at the end we kind of see that Reina really isn't mentally right at all, because she really still thinks Setsuna is the Setsuna from the legend, and this legend is going to play a very big part apparently. And my theory with that is this anime might try to break that cycle, but who knows. I'm very curious. This episode was quite interesting. I can't wait for the rest of the series. But what did you think? I'm curious. Who's your favorite girl of the series? But as always, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. This is Austin the Doctor saying out. Peace.